Iran has warned for wider escalation in the Gulf states if US launches new strikes, while Iran and Oman have reached an understanding on the geographic coordinates for ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has warned Gulf states that any new US attack on its territory would trigger retaliation against critical energy infrastructure across the region. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi spoke with his Saudi, Turkish and Qatari counterparts as well as Pakistan's army chief. Araghchi urged Washington's Gulf allies to use their influence with Donald Trump to dissuade him from launching renewed strikes, warning that any attack on Iran would prompt retaliation against US assets and energy facilities across the Gulf. Qatar, Oman and Saudi Arabia have all urged Washington to resume talks with Tehran and avert renewed conflict. Iran's foreign ministry announced a joint announcement being finalized, provided certain third parties did not interfere. Baghei added that any such agreement between Iran and Oman would not by itself guarantee security in the strategic waterway. He further added, if some third parties do not obstruct the process, the joint statement between the two countries was in the final stages of review and drafting. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has repeatedly insisted Tehran is keen to do a deal to reopen the route to shipping, but Iran denies this and says it will instead make arrangements with the neighbor across the strait, Oman. Trump said that Iran had reached out requesting talks, but warned that the country would face severe consequences and get hit very hard if negotiations failed.
Well, the only thing I get a little solace from is they say only consequential presidents. And I am definitely consequential. I mean, if you look at the economy, if you look at what's happening, Iran, as an example, will never have a nuclear weapon. They already can't, but it's going to be formal. The strait's going to be open very soon, or they're going to get hit very hard, and then the strait's going to be open. And we will go into a tremendous attack, the biggest since World War II.
Meanwhile, hours after the deal, the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Agency said on Thursday that a tanker reported hearing 2 explosions while transiting the Strait of Hormuz off Oman on Wednesday, adding that the vessel and its crew were safe. The agency said in an advisory that the incident occurred about 9 nautical miles southeast of Oman's Qumzar and that no environmental damage had been reported. Israel's military resumed strikes in southern Lebanon on Wednesday despite ongoing talks, blaming a ceasefire violation by militant group Hezbollah. Israeli military said it began targeted strikes in southern Lebanon's village of Mansouri in response to a Hezbollah violation, a day after the latest round of talks between Israel and Lebanon took place in Rome. The Lebanese health ministry said an Israeli strike on the southern town of Tibnin killed 1 person and wounded 12 others. The Israeli military had earlier said it issued an evacuation warning to the village of Mansouri, saying it would act against the Iran-backed group in the area. The talks were expected to resume on Thursday for a third and final day. This week's negotiations are the 7th round since Hezbollah drew Lebanon into the West Asia war in the month of March. And India's Akshay Dongre joins us for some perspective on the West Asia crisis. Akshay, at this stage, what is the position of ships seeking to transit the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, Tanvi, the good news as far as the entire situation is concerned is that the ships are actually passing through the Strait of Hormuz. However, the situation is quite dangerous. So every ship passing is a different operation altogether because there is heightened monitoring, heightened security, risk involved. Also, if the risk increases further, there can be much more implications on the global shipping, especially with the insurance cost rising, with the risk rising, and less ships choosing to pass through the important waterway, which means that less and less energy gets supplied from this crucial part of the world to the rest of the regions that are seeking energy sources from the West Asian region. So the ships, though, are passing through, the numbers are far lesser and the risk is far higher.
Okay, at this point, what would you say is the main stumbling block to a quick resolution to this conflict in West Asia?
trust deficit, Tanvi, remains the biggest stumbling block as far as the negotiation process is concerned. We have seen that, there were promises that were made, then U-turns that were taken, and it's not just the IRGC or the Houthis or the Iranian government we are talking about, but also the US. Because one day, one statement is coming in, then the next day there is a complete U-turn on it, then ceasefire is being announced, negotiations that are taking place under the table, or the back channel talks that are taking place are being announced by none other than the US president himself to the rest of the world, to the world media. So that has created a significant trust deficit. But besides that, you obviously have the issue of nuclear weapons that still remains a key concern as far as the negotiation process is concerned. And then obviously the Strait of Hormuz and the control of the important waterway remains one of the crucial issues where both the parties are just not able to come to a sort of an understanding between the two.
Okay. Thank you very much. Akshay Dongre reporting on this story for us.